to discuss his campaign and his explosive call to ban Muslims from coming to the U.S. Mr. Trump, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you.
Top Republicans met in Washington this week and discussed the possibility of a brokered convention to block you from being the GOP nominee. Your reaction to the idea that members of the establishment, some members, are talking about trying to stop you?
Well, I think they're making a big mistake, number one. I think I'm going to be the one that beats Hillary. The Fox poll, your own poll, came out and said I beat Hillary rather easily. And I think they are kidding themselves. I'm leading in virtually every state. I'm leading in Iowa, although a Des Moines Register does a poll, and I'm sure that'll be negative when they announce their poll.
But when you say that they're kidding themselves, meaning what?
They're kidding themselves. I'm going to win. I think I'm going to win. You know, I'm not one of these other guys that goes down. I don't go down. I go up. My whole life has been about winning. I'm going to win.
You say that you may break your pledge and run as an independent if the party doesn't treat you fairly. When you hear about leaders talking about a brokered convention, when you hear about the New York GOP, some people saying, let's throw them out, do you have a warning for GOP leaders?
Look, I understand what they're going through. I wasn't supposed to be here. I was a member of the establishment 7 months ago. I gave $350,000 to the Republican Governors Association. I'm not supposed to be doing this. You see, I'm supposed to be on the other side writing checks and having people do whatever I want.
So what do you say to the
puppets,
Republican leaders?
Puppets. I say, folks, you know, I'm sorry I did this to you, but you got to get used to it. It's one of those little problems in life. Now, I'll see whether or not I'm being treated fairly. I want to run as a Republican. I'm a conservative guy. I have great ideas. I'm going to make our country great again. I'm going to make it great again. It's a mess. Right now, our country is a mess. So I think they're going to be very happy. I think if I win, in 2 years after I win, I think we're going to have the happiest people in the world. Okay? But I understand, Chris, I understand where they're coming from. This wasn't supposed to happen. They were supposed to pick a governor, a senator, you know, a puppet, where they control them 100%. This wasn't supposed to happen.
It's some things you said haven't made people happy. You say that the Muslim ban is about security, not about religion. But you would block all foreign Muslims. That's 1.5, let me just finish.
Okay, go ahead.
1.5 billion people from coming into this country. Are you saying that all of them are potential security threats?
We have people flying airplanes into World Trade Centers. We have people shooting people in California like happened last week. We have big problems. Problems that nobody understands. You don't understand them. I don't understand. People don't understand them. The Muslims have to help us figure out. There's tremendous hatred there. There's tremendous hatred. But where it comes from, I don't know.
I think here's the point, Mr. Trump. I think people would understand it if you were basing it on countries, saying, you know, don't let people in from Syria or Libya, war areas. But
well, I've done that also.
But there are 200 million Muslims in Indonesia.
I've done that also.
There's a Canadian businessman who's a Muslim. Are you saying they can't come in?
There's a sickness. They're sick people. There's a sickness going on. There is a group of people that is very sick, and we have to figure out the answer. And the Muslims can help us figure out the answer.
Here's what Speaker of the House Paul Ryan said this week.
This is not conservatism. What was proposed yesterday is not what this party stands for, and more importantly, it's not what this country stands for.
Ryan says you would violate the constitutional guarantee of freedom of religion.
Look, I like Paul Ryan. Very, very weak on illegal immigration, big on amnesty, very, very bad on our southern border. Let people pour in. It's not the kind of thinking we need. We need stronger thinking than that. And I like him. He's a nice person. But we need stronger thinking than that. I want the Muslims to help me. I knew there'd be a storm. I'm a very smart person. I knew there'd be a storm. But we need the Muslims to help us figure it out.
This week, you've been called a bigot, a fascist, a demagogue. I looked up the word demagogue in the dictionary, and it says someone, a public official who seeks support based on appealing to people's fear and prejudice.
Not me.
Is that what you're doing?
No, it's the opposite. It's called Make America Great Again. It's the opposite. I want to make our country safe. In fact, I'm going to add to it. Make America great again, make America safe again. It's not safe. We're living in fear. I'm not creating the fear. People are living in fear. I have friends that don't want to fly in airplanes anymore, okay? Now look, there's a problem. You don't have to admit it, you never will, because you always want to be politically correct. Your father would have admitted it, okay? He's living perfect. But you're catching your father very rapidly. Certainly in the ratings we're catching him when we do it together. But look, there's a fear out there.
Let's talk practically about how your plan would work. Someone wants to come to the U.S. How do you find out if they're Muslim? Do you ask them?
No, you do more than that. You have a surveillance system, and you check things, and you have papers, and you have documents, and you go through a process, which we don't do very well right now. Do you know that in Syria, I hear they're making false passports, and I have heard that ISIS, and I'm pretty good at this stuff, Chris, in Syria, right now, they have people that are making false passports for the migrants, and it's ISIS making the passports, okay? And we have people coming in through the migration, coming into this country with false passports. Now, I'll tell you what, it's got to stop. We've got to get tough, and we've got to get smart.
You say this is going to be temporary until we figure out, in your words, quote, what the hell is going on.
It's temporary.
But
Chris, they've got to help us.
I understand, but you call our leaders in Washington losers. And
I didn't say losers. I said they're stupid.
Okay.
Okay.
But my point
is, loser's not a strong enough term.
So, under those circumstances, isn't this going to take Donald Trump years as president to be able to sort out the good Muslims from the bad Muslims?
I know the Muslims. I'm partners with Muslims. They're friends of mine. They're very smart. They're great people. They got to help us. They got to help us. So you had these two people. Everybody knew what they were going to do. They had pipe bombs all over their apartment, sitting on the floor. You had the mother knew, you had the neighbor knew, you had the one guy who bought the rifles. They all knew. And the one person said, oh, I knew, but maybe racial profiling. He didn't want to be a racial profiler. So people are laying dead all over a certain place. Good people, great people. I think it's disgraceful. We need help. We have to have people turn other people in. Once they're radicalized, it's too late. Now, we have another problem, because we have many radicalized people in the United States. We have to do something about that.
Let's turn to the campaign. You lead in almost all the polls, except for a couple in Iowa, where Ted Cruz is slightly ahead of you. This week, Ted Cruz apparently told some supporters that he questions your judgment to be president. What do you think of Ted Cruz?
Well, do you notice he said it behind my back? Somebody taped that conversation. He said it behind my back, and that's okay. Look, I don't think he's qualified to be president.
Why not?
Because I don't think he has the right temperament. I don't think he's got the right judgment.
What's wrong with this temperament?
Well, you look at the way he's dealt with the Senate, where he goes in there like a, frankly, like a little bit of a maniac. You're never going to get things done that way. Look, I built a phenomenal business. I'm worth many, many billions of dollars. I have some of the greatest assets anywhere in the world. You can't walk into the Senate and scream and call people liars and not be able to cajole and get along with people. He'll never get anything done, and that's the problem with Ted.
Most of the so-called experts are now saying maybe Trump wins the nomination, but he's still going to get swamped in a general election by Hillary Clinton. And they point to this. Among women, 27% have a favorable view of you, 62% unfavorable. Among blacks,
here's your problem. Here's your problem.
Can I just read?
No. I think this. You're quoting one poll, because there are other polls where I'm very favorable with women.
No, but not among all women.
Excuse me.
We wanted to ask Trump about a USA Today poll last week, which shows him with high unfavorable ratings among women, blacks, and Hispanics.
You released a poll, Donald Trump against Hillary Clinton, and I win by 4 points. It's a Fox poll. It's not a Quinnipiac or whoever it is. It's a Fox poll. So Fox and Roger Ailes pays all this money for a Fox poll. In the Fox poll, I beat easily Hillary Clinton. Why don't you talk about that poll?
Trump's right. There was a Fox poll that showed him beating Clinton by 5 points. But it was a month old, not 2 or 3 days. How do you answer the question? Are you too divisive?
No,
Hispanics,
I think I'm great. Look,
blacks, women?
I think I'll win the Hispanics. I employ thousands of Hispanics. They love me. I love them. And I think I'm going to do great with women. And one of the reasons I'm going to do great with women is that I'm a leader. I'm not like Hillary Clinton. She's got no strength. She's got no stamina. Everything she does is like theatrical. Oh, Donald Trump said this. He actually, it's sort of interesting. She said, I watched her last night, Donald Trump, looks like she practices in front of a mirror for 2 hours. Donald Trump said, I think he's dangerous. I'm dangerous. She's the one that caused all this problem. With her stupid policies, you look at what she did with Libya, what she did with Syria. Look at Egypt, what happened with Egypt. A total mess. We don't back any of our allies. You look, she was truly, if not the, one of the worst Secretary of States in the history of the country. She talks about me being dangerous. She's killed hundreds of thousands of people with her stupidity.
What do you mean she's killed hundreds of thousands?
She was Secretary of State. Obama was president. The team,
right.
Two real geniuses.
Killed hundreds?
Two real geniuses. Of course. Look at what happened. The Middle East is a total disaster under her. She'd travel back and forth, but look at all the problems. Look at, as an example, Iraq. Total disaster. They didn't get us in, but they got us out badly, okay? Total. We spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives, wounded warriors all over. Look at Libya. Look at Benghazi, our ambassador. He wired her 500 or 600 times asking for help. She'll take her friend's call every time. Hillary Clinton doesn't have the judgment. She doesn't have the strength or the stamina to be president. She will be a terrible president. And I think I'll win.
Finally, let's talk money. Should congressional Republicans put policy riders in a bill to keep the government funded? And if so, what issues are worth risking a government shutdown?
If we had leadership, you wouldn't have to talk about a shutdown. And one of the things I'm so disappointed with the Republicans is that we have a budget, and then they go to sleep for 2 years. They don't do anything. And they start talking about it just before the budget comes up. It doesn't work that way.
Are there policy issues that you would shut down the government over?
I don't want to say, and I'll tell you why I don't want to say. There are certain things that we can talk about, but I don't want to say, because they have to think of us as unpredictable. Let me tell you, Boehner said, we will never, ever shut down the government. What happened? He gave away all his cards by saying that. In other words, he gave Obama all of his cards. Okay, it's fine to say that. Now Obama sat back, he got everything he wanted. So I don't want to say what I'll do.
Finally,
it's called the art of the deal, in all fairness. I mean, nobody in our government understands the art of the deal.
Finally, the Federal Reserve meets this week. Should they raise interest rates? And what do you think of Fed Chairman Janet Yellen?
Well, she's always been known as very low interest, and as a developer, I like low interest rates. As somebody that loves our country, you're going to have to start raising them, and she should start raising them a little bit at least.
Why?
Look, I'm getting free money. By doing this, it's a form of printing money. And I think she's fine. She's a very low interest rate person. I think she's probably going to raise them. And if she does, it's going to be a small raise. And I don't think it's going to have much of an impact.
Mr. Trump?
Thank you.